Today, Arizona's governor is already planning an appeal and says this fight is far from over.
I think that it's important to remind everybody that today the federal government got relief from the courts to do their job.
Let's bring in our John King now. He's been reporting live from Arizona all week. So, John, the big question is, what now?
John, and it's a fascinating question. We know politically we will see some demonstrations today. Opponents of this law who thought the whole law would take effect today plan demonstrations. They say they believe the fight will continue, so they will still have those demonstrations. It will be interesting to see if opponents of the law, especially those who are coming in from out of state, if they can mask the large numbers now that key parts of it have been put on hold. Politically, look, this judge puts part of this law on hold, but the political debate, you just played the governor there, that is only intensifying. As everyone says, if they can't settle this in the courts before November or get the new law on the ground before November, they'll fight this out in the elections. In terms of what happens today, let's take a closer look at that injunction, because the judge did say Arizona cannot implement several of the most controversial provisions of the law, including no state requirement that the police check the immigration status. Say if they stop somebody at a traffic stop and have reason to believe they're not in the country legally, police can no longer go forward with that aspect of the law. Also struck down temporarily was the requirement that immigrants have to carry their papers, some proof that they're in this country, residency status or citizenship status. The federal judge said Arizona cannot implement that today. And also struck down temporarily with this injunction is a state prohibition on undocumented workers going out and seeking work. So those were three of the most controversial aspects of the law. They are temporarily on hold. There are other aspects of the law, John, that will kick in, though. So the political debate, the legal debate, and the on-the-ground law enforcement issue will continue.
John, considering what happened in court and considering what the judge says, is there any chance that the legislators in Arizona will back down a bit and try to work something out with Washington on new enforcement, for example, or is it just too fierce and they're going to go at it?
In a word, no, Sarah, because number one, if you look at Jan Brewer's polling here, she has dramatically changed her life politically, her standing politically, by signing this into law. In the legislature, they say not only do they want this law, they want to go on with other things, and they're simply, what they say is they don't trust Washington. Now, the Obama administration's answer is, hey, look, we're not perfect, but we're doing a lot more along the border than the Bush administration did and previous administrations did, but this is both a political and a legal standoff, and don't look for any negotiated settlement.
John, this striking down this law means that police officers will not be required to check somebody's immigration status. They can still go ahead and do it voluntarily. So what should we look for from police departments across the state in the wake of this decision?
Another fascinating wrinkle, because, John, as you know, some police departments, some sheriffs wanted this law. They said they needed those new enforcement tools. Others, including I'm in the city of Tucson this morning, the Tucson police chief said this would take too many resources away from fighting other crimes he thought were more important. So you will have a patchwork of implementation. You would have had one if the full law went into effect. There were some disagreements over how aggressive to be. Now that parts of it go into effect, this will be fascinating to watch. We're going to ride around with some Tucson police officers in just a short time. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, nationally known as an aggressive leader in the fight against anti-immigration. I talked to him yesterday. He said, yes, he would like those new state provisions, but he thinks already this debate has made a point. Joe Arpaio says he believes many undocumented illegal immigrants have begun to flee Arizona because of the tone set by this new law. And he also says, John, when his men are out today, they're launching a big anti-crime, anti-illegal immigration sweep. They will still ask some people for documentation. Listen to Sheriff Joe.
I think you're sending a message out about this new law, and people are becoming concerned, and they're leaving. They're leaving. I don't think they're going to come back because of this decision. I think they're probably very angry that the judge did not throw out this whole law. And don't forget, we still have officers in our jail that have been trained by Homeland Security that investigates everyone booked into that jail. So any police officer that arrests anyone on a criminal violation, we're still going to investigate and show they're here illegally.
So Sheriff Arpaio says, John, business as usual. It will be interesting to watch town by town. One of the provisions that's still in the law, that if you're a day laborer and you're out trying to get work in the morning and you step out and somehow you block traffic because somebody pulls over to see, do you want to work on this contracting job? That is still a violation under this new state law. One of the things to watch is how aggressive will state and city law enforcement agencies be in enforcing the provisions that do go into effect, that did go into effect a few hours ago at midnight here.
And as you say, we may see a patchwork across the state as opposed to uniform implementation.
Exactly. John, let me just ask you one more question here. There are a lot of other states, about 5, that are considering similar legislation. Is this ruling going to impact them? Will they step back a bit and say, hold on a second, let's see what happens in Arizona, and then push forward?
Well, none of those states were making enough progress to get that done, even if they could find the votes by November of this year. So essentially, they had a holding period anyway. They had a little cooling off period to watch what happens in Arizona. But there is no doubt, not only are a handful of states looking to do just about what Arizona wanted to do, but many other states are doing similar things, essentially testing how much power does a state have on what has long been viewed as a federal law enforcement issue. So this will not quiet the debate. Certainly the courts, as this goes on, will have the appeal, then we'll have a hearing. The case will be judged on the merits. That will be guidance to the states. But in the meantime, are those who are pushing for tougher laws, pushing for state intervention, are they going to stop? No.
John King for us this morning. John, thanks so much. And CNN will continue to follow the controversy over Arizona's new law cracking down on illegal immigrants. John will be reporting tonight from Arizona. John King, USA, tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, right here on CNN.